All right, guys, here we are, December 20th, the winter solstice tomorrow. Hard to believe we're at this point again. Wow. Seems like spring was just yesterday. It couldn't warm up fast enough, and now here we are getting back into the throes of winter. I want to start with you, Greg, because 25 years predicting winter weather in Fort Wayne, there's got to be some great perspective here comparing last winter to all of those previous years.
Yeah, well, last winter was a winter that we've never seen before. I mean, you talk about the winter and you have to talk about first the winter snowfall, the record snowfall that we had. People just stopped shoveling and the streets just piled up, and you look at some of the old pictures and it looks like the blizzard of '78 where the snow's piled up high, but we really never had an overwhelming amount of snow at once. It just kept piling up. And I think one of the other things that was interesting about the winter was how many times the city of Fort Wayne actually shut down. I don't think I ever remember the city being shut down. And so when I'm coming to work at 3 a.m. in the morning, I'm the only one out on the road with the snowplows, and the city is essentially shut down. Nobody is on the roads, and we have kind of almost a perfect storm with the really warm weather, and then all of a sudden it's almost like a flash freeze, and so we had that coating of ice all over the road.
And looking back at last winter, I mean, it was like we never got a break. We either had the cold, we had the snow, or we had both, and it just piled onto the toughest winter ever, as we called it. Let's remember some of what we lived through with the weather stats from last week. I think you remember these, but let's just let it sink in here. For December, temperature-wise, only 1.4 degrees below average. However, we did have our first below zero temperature last year in December with -4 on the 12th. Then on January, temperatures were 7.9 degrees below average. That was the 6th coldest January on record. It was also the snowiest January and snowiest month ever with 30.3 inches. Remember, 33.5 inches is about how much we should get for the whole year. That was almost January. Our February was the 5th coldest. Temperatures were 10.4 degrees below average. That was the 3rd snowiest February. That had 19.2 inches of snow. So all in all, that makes it the 6th coldest winter with an overall average temperature of 20.7 degrees, and the 2nd snowiest winter. Remember, our winter records December, January, and February. That's 59.4 inches behind the record 61.1 from 81-82. But even when you take into account the whole 12 months, that would put us at 74.7 inches as still number 2 behind 81 and 82. And thinking back on the snow, yeah, we had plenty. That was one factor. But then the snow was only coming at the times when people wanted to go out and do things.
Yes.
Stuck inside.
Yeah, the time I work. That's when people want to do
the
things.
weekends, absolutely.
Everyone wants to do things on the weekends, but constantly, every single weekend we came in, we were tracking another snowstorm. More accumulating snow, bitterly cold temps. People couldn't get out and do things, and I think it was driving people crazy. And I remember the blizzard conditions we had. I remember Rod Hissong joined us Sunday night.
And Jesse, these wind chills in the morning are not going to be cold, they're going to be dangerous.
You couldn't hear him in his microphone. He was bundled up. The snow was going sideways. The temps were falling. That's when we were forecasting wind chill values to be below 30 below, which is absolutely incredible. And I can't tell you how many times on the weekend I'd say, well, here we go again. Here in the 7-day forecast, there's another chance for accumulating snow and another chance. In fact, it snowed. We had a trace of snow at least every single weekend in the entire winter months. That's really incredible. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the highest snowfall did come January 5th, that snow we were talking about with Rod. 9.5 inches fell that day, which pretty impressive, but of course that was just that one day, and the snow just kept coming and coming, and as Greg was saying, it just never stopped. It kept piling up and piling up. And I do remember another thing that in March, we kept getting the snow. Even into March, we kept going. So we only, for meteorological purposes, December, January, February, but we did a morning live shot out at 5 o'clock.
Right. You were outside for that.
Yeah, 5 o'clock in the morning with Greg, and it was raining. I had my umbrella. 5:30, we did another hit. It started snowing. By the time we got to 7 o'clock, we had several inches of snow on the ground.
And it was stuck to you.
It was stuck to me. The winds were howling. It was ridiculous. And all within 2 hours, we picked up that much snow. And I saw thunder snow for the first time. So it was absolutely amazing.
That's right. I used to live in Maine about 2 years, before I came here. And, I thought, the most challenging winter I'd ever experienced in my life. So snow that buried my car. I had blizzards that actually dropped, over 2 feet of snow, in a single storm. And here I was in Fort Wayne. I felt like I brought the winter with me.
Yeah, I just want to get your perspective on that, because here we hire you the fall of last year. You're coming from Maine, thinking, boy, Fort Wayne winters, this is going to be a breeze. I want to know what you think now.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was going to be a breeze, but I didn't think it was going to be a Bangor winter. And I remember telling Jesse, I said, I love snow, I love winter, bring it on. Well, Mother Nature sure as heck did this past winter, because we had, not only the snow that kept falling and never really melted either, as Greg mentioned, we really never had much of a thaw, but the temperatures. In Maine, the coldest I ever experienced was -15. Here it dropped down to -16 twice.
And that's saying something coming from me.
I know, right?
What do you think now about this one coming up? Are you ready to handle it?
I think we're ready. I mean, if we can survive last winter, we can make it through just about anything. I remember reporting out in live shots, whether I was in Maine or even here in Fort Wayne, where you would see the little bug on the corner of the screen. It would say 1. That's pretty brutal no matter where you are, but I'll never forget it. And I look forward to this winter.
And you can't forget about all of those Arctic winter blasts that we had that sent the temperatures
How
just
many times did we say Arctic blast?
our lowest temperatures in years here, 19 days below zero. That's number 5 for most days at 0 or below for a winter season, with 7 of those days being double digits below 0.
I remember going out to my car and thinking, is it going to start this morning? And I'm sure a lot of folks had that same mindset.
And looking back at old clips in the 7-day forecast, we had highs forecasted like -2, 0, or 1. And
Or overnight lows, sometimes we had -16 on there.
yeah, and the teens below 0. That wasn't uncommon this year or last year. It's crazy.
And the winds.
Yeah, don't forget the winds in that equation.
You add in the winds, that was a whole nother factor. 72 days across December, January, and February, wind gusts 20 miles per hour or greater, okay? One day, January 6th, after that 10-inch snowstorm, we had a wind chill in the -40s. And I remember showing that Futurecast graphic, and it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know we had colors that represented -40s. Thank goodness we did, because we put them to use, And so here we are. We have this past winter behind us. We have a new season to look ahead to. And of course, before the end of the show, we're going to reveal our live Doppler 15 Fury Storm Team winter weather outlook. Well, we've got a lot of good stuff coming up before then. We want everyone to stick around. We'll take a look at social media and weather phobias after the break.
Jesse, social media is one of the most powerful tools that meteorologists like you and I have when it comes to communicating weather info.
It is. It's very helpful. But as you know, especially from last year, it has provided a whole new set of challenges on getting accurate information out. There's so many forecasts out there. Many of them, unfortunately, are unreliable. So do you, our viewers, actually know where you're getting your weather information?
The benefit of the internet. Everybody has access to all kinds of information.
That includes your weather forecast. But which weather sources can you trust?
The biggest challenge we have with social media is the sheer volume of information. How do we know what's good or bad? How do we know who's reliable and who to trust?
You may recall last winter a prediction floating around social media of more than 30 inches of snow falling across the Midwest, with Fort Wayne in the bullseye. Obviously, that was dead wrong.
You have to understand, when things are posted to social media, Facebook, people are tweeting forecasts, what have you, that gets magnified. People who are responding to that immediately latch on to these extremes.
And for that reason, many weather enthusiasts who have been deemed as social meteorologists will release extreme forecasts to gain website hits, fans on Facebook, or followers on Twitter. And many times, their methods work, regardless of severely missed predictions. Our biggest snow last season was nearly 3 times less than the 30 inches some on social media were calling for. So how can a forecast be so wrong?
The atmosphere is chaotic. There's a lot of things that can change very rapidly. There's this element of randomness, and the farther away you get from the present, the more random things can change your forecast.
Weather models are not immune to this problem. As data gets collected and processed to make a forecast, one small error in data can lead to a big error in the forecast.
Let's talk about why you cannot trust weather model forecasts more than several days out. Here's an example. This is a weather model for December 2nd. We grabbed it 10 days before December 2nd. It was showing a lot of precipitation across northeast Indiana and northwest Ohio. And when you break down the numbers, it was saying we will see 1.13 inches of rain on December 2nd with high temperatures in the middle 50s. So how did it do? Not very well. The actual temperature only got to the lower 30s, and we only saw 1/100th of an inch of precipitation, and that was in the form of frozen precipitation.
So, when you come across forecasts on the internet this winter, make sure you know it's coming from a trustworthy source like News Channel 15. After all, like Abraham Lincoln once said, don't believe everything you read on the internet just because there's a picture with a quote next to it.
You know, as we just saw, social media can actually cause some panic.
Absolutely. I mean, have you seen people freaking out on Twitter and Facebook recently?
Absolutely. I remember last year during the winter, we would see people getting scared of big snowstorms coming that were never quite to the magnitude that some people were saying, or in severe weather season, some of the verbiage actually incites panic.
Oh yeah, weather has that ability to actually trigger a physical or even psychological response in people like no other. In the wintertime, that can mean increased anxiety, it can mean depression, and even panic, as you mentioned. New research actually suggests that people may have a phobia to certain types of weather. Take a look.
Fierce, chaotic, exhausting,
bitter.
It's been real terrible.
It's memories like these that people will recall when they hear the term winter, especially after last year. But some new research suggests that as much as 2 to 3% of the U.S. population may have a marked fear or even anxiety directly related to severe weather, including winter storms. Dr. Jill Coleman, assistant professor of geography at Ball State, set out to explore the response people have to extreme weather in a recent study.
We asked people about what is some of their most fearful experiences, and for a lot of parts of the country, it wasn't necessarily about the thunderstorms and lightning. It was remembering a very severe ice storm, which left out their power for a couple of weeks on end.
Heavy snow and freezing rain were among the most common severe weather events that people in the study had experienced. Respondents often reported feelings of anxiety, increased heart pounding, the need to change their schedules, and occasional feelings of helplessness. These are considered natural responses to life continually being interrupted during the winter season, when you can't count on getting to school, work, or stores. Even though many of these symptoms were reported in respondents, the majority would not be identified as having a true phobia.
Those that have a true phobia, it's almost impacting their lives to the point that they feel inability to do anything about it. They don't take any of the proper precautions, and that fear kind of runs their lives.
According to Dr. Petra Zimmerman, assistant professor of geography at Ball State, the majority of the psychological responses in this study aren't directly related to the weather as they are the impacts.
They're not afraid of winter. What they're afraid of is driving on ice. They're afraid of opening up really big utility bills.
Another natural response people have to extreme weather, especially winter storms, is food stockpiling.
Suddenly everybody needs to get milk, bread, and eggs, meaning there must be some kind of a French toast syndrome going on.
They said snow! I gotta get the bread and milk! Oh my God!
People tend to go after perishable items for what could be a prolonged event stuck indoors, possibly without power. Are bread and milk really the big sellers during a winter storm?
They really are. Everybody goes for those basic things that they know they're going to need, but then, they also stock up on everything they can.
Some suggest that stockpiling on perishables has become a tradition, something their family may have done long ago. Others say it's about control and not breaking routine. For those that have a true severe weather phobia, Dr. Coleman and experts recommend seeking professional or self-help treatment. For those who just have winter weather anxieties, the best way to cope is to make sure you're prepared and informed.
I think having a sense of what weather conditions and what to do when there's severe weather is a good thing. We want people to have a healthy amount of fear, but there's that tipping point. You don't want to have people have so much fear that they have an inability really to do anything about it.
Stick around.
Coming up, we're going to take a look at what our area is doing to gear up for this year's winter.
And a bit later on, we'll take a look at what causes different types of winter weather phenomena.
The Live Doppler 15 Fury Storm Team is here with weather coverage you can count on. Check us out on Twitter using the handle WayneWX and follow our own individual accounts listed there on your screen. We're on Facebook too. Just do a search for Wayne News Channel 15 to find our updates. You can also download the new Wayne Weather app for free interactive radar and video forecasts. Want a live view at incoming rain, storms, and snow? Get an up-close look at the snow falling over your house on Channel 15.3. You can also find it on Comcast Channel 251, Mediacom Channel 107, and Frontier Fios Channel 462.
This is the time of the year when we have to start delivering the news that all of the warmer weather fans don't like to hear. Talk of bitter cold, snow, and ice. And even if you aren't a winter weather fan, I think we can all agree that winter weather can produce some beautiful and interesting scenes outside.
Oh, they sure can. We had some great pictures last year of that winter weather phenomena. I remember ice formations and also even lightning during a snowstorm. We wanted to take that science and we wanted to tell you a little bit more about it and share some of the answers with you.
From thunder during snowstorms,
20 minutes ago in the southern sky here, vivid flashes of blue lightning,
to the intense weight of snow and ice, winter weather can be fascinating, beautiful, and unfortunately dangerous. Last winter, part of the Glenbrook Mall's roof collapsed, leaving some businesses closed for months. The heavy weight of the snow and ice accumulation was to blame.
If you can start amassing enough of that snow and there's enough water in it, that weight can become significant. A square foot of water, 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot, is 65 pounds. Span that over a multi-square foot, thousands of square foot on a roof, and you can see that you're actually getting into tons of weight.
Have you ever seen lightning and heard thunder during a snowstorm? It's most common in lake effect snow squalls where instability can be high, even during the winter months. But large winter storm systems can also be the cause of thunderstorms with their intense frontal forcing and unstable air aloft.
You can get very intense bursts of snow from this. Visibilities can drop very quickly. Accumulating snow can pile up rapidly. Additionally, the winds will pick up because it's a thunderstorm, and it can happen in a flash. Pun intended.
One of the more mysterious phenomena of winter are called snow rollers. They look like little bales of hay sitting in the middle of a field. But how did they get there? The snow and the wind have to be perfect.
What you need is an open field. You need the sticky snow. You need to have wind conditions that are not too gusty and not too blustery, but pretty steady.
So keep your eye out for these intense wonders of winter. And don't forget to send your videos and pictures to News Channel 15 using our Report It feature on Wayne.com.
Like the roof collapse we saw at Glenbrook Mall in that last story, prolonged cold can cause a whole host of other problems.
And the extreme cold and snow that we experienced last winter is certainly not typical for our area. There were many lessons to be learned from that experience. So we asked Fort Wayne Community Schools and the City of Fort Wayne how they plan to take on winter 2015.
Well, we don't plan to change anything. We think our system worked very well.
Part of that included extending school days to make up for all of the missed days. But the state says they may need to reevaluate that idea.
But right now, they would prefer we not extend the school day. They would rather we extend the number of days in the calendar. And again, we have a contingency to do that.
For the most part, both Fort Wayne Community Schools and the City of Fort Wayne plan to go about the winter of 2014-2015 with business as usual, with a few minor changes, including new blades and more staff.
Well, we have some new drivers. Some people retired last year, and I believe we have close to somewhere in the low teens, 13 to 15 new drivers. And we're trying a carbide blade, which is a little bit stronger than the stainless or the steel blade that we normally would use, and we're going to test those out and see how they will work.
Don't go anywhere.
Coming up, we have the live Doppler 15 Fury winter weather outlook.
Well, we started off the special talking about what happened last winter. We certainly can't wrap things up without taking a look at what's to come this winter. And when we make these longer term forecasts, we know that there are a lot of factors that come into play through the atmosphere, in the oceans. I want to start off tonight with talk of El Nino, because I think that's something that a lot of our viewers have heard of, even if they don't know exactly what that's all about.
Sure. Yeah, you know, when we talk about an El Nino, we were already looking at it in the spring, and there were signals and signs that this was going to be a strong El Nino pattern. Well, in the last few weeks, that has changed. We have a weaker El Nino in force, and so that may not have as big an impact for our winter. And you know, when we talk about El Nino for us, we usually talk about two things. One is warmer than normal temperatures for the winter, and the other is less snowfall, which both, compared to last winter, is a good thing for us.
This El Nino is a little bit different than your typical El Nino. When we look at El Nino conditions, as you guys know, we look in the Eastern Pacific. We look for warmer than average ocean temperatures in the Eastern Pacific. It's a little more centralized, and that's kind of a newer phenomena that meteorologists and climatologists are looking at. It's called El Nino Modoki. It's a little, kind of cool flair to it. But what that means is it has typical El Nino conditions, so we can expect maybe something similar, but not quite as much. We're not really expecting to be much warmer than average because not only of that, but other factors too. And we're also talking about the snowfall being near average. We're thinking it's going to be close to what we should see this time of the year, which again, that 33.5-inch range. And we're not looking to see as big, robust storms as we saw last year. When we had snow last year, it was, here comes another 6 inches, here comes another 8. Maybe more kind of spread out over the season. So definitely a cold one based on those factors, but maybe not as much snow.
And I think near average snowfall makes sense with the pattern we've been in. I mean, what we've seen really over the past, couple months with the precipitation trends, yes, we've had some of those days where maybe we pick up, over 3 inches of rain in just a 24-hour window. But when you take those days away, overall precipitation totals should be right on par where we should be for this time of year. And I think that that's probably what we're looking at for the upcoming winter too. That's not to say that we won't see, maybe some heavy snowfall events, but for the most part, they may be few and far between. And I think my gut tells me we'll see average snowfall.
And when you talk about snow, of course, we need to get the cold air in here.
Sure.
And we've got plenty of signs saying that's going to happen. In weak El Ninos, polar jet, it's not held back from digging south over the Midwest and allowing all of that colder air in. We're also noticing some warm water temps in the northern Pacific. Now, that's much like last year when we had Arctic blast after Arctic blast. You can kind of get that same pattern to set up. Then there's also something new. Snow accumulations in Siberia in the month of October. We're linking that now to a pattern that can give us a lot of cold air during the winter months. And sure enough, this October, what happened in Siberia? The rapid snowfall accumulations that we need for that to pan out. Now, odds are, as we've been saying, we'll end up with temps colder than average this winter, but we're unlikely to repeat that same level of extreme cold that we had last year. Snow, as we mentioned, should end up somewhere near average. Keep in mind, 33.5 inches is the average snowfall. So there is your official Live Doppler 15 Fury winter weather outlook. Here we go. The season is upon us.
I'm ready. Bring it on.
I'm ready.
Thank you guys for this conversation. Thank you for all of you watching, and thanks to our friends here at Mocha Lounge for providing the space for this broadcast. And thanks for trusting us with your winter weather forecast. Happy winter.
Hand down.
Yeah, coming up, we have the 15 Fury Live Doppler Storm Tracker.
Stick around.
Sorry.
Stick it. I forget what it is.
As we just saw, this is not, I'm sorry, I'm trying really hard.